Good morning, everybody. Welcome to your April 23rd, 2026 Indigenous Emergency Management briefing, information and news you can use throughout the day to help keep yourself prepared for disasters and emergencies. Today, I'm also going to go through in a little bit more detail the TikTok post that I made last night regarding the housing app that you can use to detail the repairs and damages to your home and how that actually works and what we're doing and why we're developing it. So if you want to learn a little bit more about that project, then you can stick around and I'll go through that in a little bit more detail. Thank you, ERIS or Eris, for the likes and supporting us as we move along here. And as always, the recording of this live will be up on our YouTube, hazardscape.com, and our Patreon with the briefing note for you to download so you can get the full briefing and have all of the show notes. This week, I'm also adding a section into the briefing specific to Arctic emergency management. So for Inuit, anyone that's in the circumpolar North Arctic of Canada, we're adding a section just for you, and we're going to be pulling more from Nunavut News and local news sources for that as well. So stay tuned for that enhancement. But we'll start with the weather warnings that are of late. So if you're checking out the map right now, you can see where those special weather warnings are located, and you're going to see a ton of snow coming in. Like let's say we're back to Christmas number 3 or 4. So we're looking at almost, if we look 30 to 50 centimeters blizzard warning in that dark blue with northeasterly winds 70 to 80 kilometers. So that's going to happen right through today until Saturday. That's in the forecast. If we kind of get into a little bit more of the southern parts, that's where you're going to be seeing ice buildup due to freezing rain heavy at times, with amounts possibly exceeding 5 millimeters of freezing rain. That is a lot of rain. That is a lot of freezing rain. And then as we look at northern Saskatchewan and Alberta, again, 15 to 30 centimeters of snow. Soon, snow will begin tapering off on Friday night, but light snow will continue into the weekend. So we're going to see quite a bit of more Christmas number 3. Snowfall 15 to 20 centimeters through Saskatchewan, and then down south, they're forecasting now up to 100-kilometer wind gusts. So very windy, very snowy coming into the weekend. Down here, rainfall warning, 30 to 50 millimeters in that sort of southwest part of Ontario. Wind gusts up to 70, 5 to 10 mils of freezing rain. Wind warning as we get over into Labrador. They're going to see wind gusts of 90 to 100 kilometers. So absolutely incredible weather coming up. And if we switch over to our sort of live play-by-play map, you're going to kind of see where that wind penetrates. You can see it swirling around into Saskatchewan down south that's Friday, that's tomorrow at 11, by Saturday, into Sunday. So you can see those cool temperatures moving in through the weekend. Absolutely crazy. Let's take a look at when we're going to hit. Yeah, you can see those wind gusts. That's Thursday afternoon. If we look at right now, that's what it's looking like right now in terms of wind speed and direction. And it's just going to creep in and creep in and creep in. So yeah, stay vigilant. Watch for power outages. If you have a wood stove, get the wood right beside it. Be ready to light it in case there's a power outage. Make sure your propane is topped up. Make sure your car is fueled. Have a list at your door of grab and go for anyone that's facing evacuation from the current floods and things like that, which we'll get into. We'll take a look here at the rain accumulations. So you can see that's Friday to Saturday. Let's kind of look at, this is where things are going to move along. Let's see here. We're going to move into probably the highest right now. You're going to see where that rain, like Toronto is going to get a dump. That green is like 30 millimeters. So yeah, just lots of more precipitation, lots of wind, lots of snow coming your way. If you're in any of these areas, you can see the red splotches are First Nations reserves. So lots of impacts there. Saskatchewan, that whole cluster, kind of up around North Battleford, snowfall warning. And with the warming, that snow's going to come, and it's going to melt, you know, fairly rapidly, because it's going to warm up again as we come out of this in the end of April. So that's kind of the big thing going on right now. We still have flood evacuations going on. Peguis First Nation Chief Stanbird declared the emergency because of flood risk is now a certainty. If we look at the Google Flood Hub, you can see that the water, pull it up here. I had to restart my computer like just as I was going to go on live because it wasn't connecting to my sound system. So I lost my Flood Hub. But if you take a look at, no, that's not Peguis. If you take a look at Peguis, they peaked at about 50 meters squared cubic meters per 50 cubic meters per second. The forecast now through to the 27th is, you know, the floodwaters are going to be reducing back, but they're still at a warning level. Like through to the 27th, the water levels are coming down. The rate of water flow coming in down the rivers is going to reduce, but it's still going to be above normal. It's still going to be in a warning to danger level. So, you know, that's good news, but that's still 4 days, right? And then we're going to probably see with that forecasted rain, you know, we've already got parts of Ottawa in those areas that hit, you know, extreme levels and they're coming down, but we'll see what happens with the forecast rain and the impacts in Ontario and what they're forecasting as that precipitation collects. So it's getting a little bit better. Sturgeon River forecast in Alberta, you know, lots of water flow from the snow melt. So if you have any questions or you want me to press into anything, please let me know. But in Peguis, hundreds of people, including residents, contractors, volunteers, provincial staff, have been working around the clock, saying more than 200 homes needed protection ahead of the runoff. Fish River, they also declared a state of emergency. That one declared that road access to the community through Peguis may be impacted, potentially limiting access to Fish River. The nation's multiplex has been set up as an emergency coordination hub and evacuation center. It can hold about 300 people, and 40 residents, about 40 residents need flood protection for that community. So if you're tracking that, still a lot of ongoing work to be done in those communities as far as flooding. And First Nation is evacuating people still in the community as a precaution due to the risk of flooding. Most of the community's 2,300 residents have been living in other Ontario communities for months due to the water treatment plant, but now they've got that additional flood risk. And also Moose Cree First Nation. Moose Cree First Nation began evacuating community members. Flights started on Monday, April 20th. Vulnerable community members were evacuated to Barrie, and a flood watch has been issued for Moose River. So people in Moosonee and Moose Factory are advised to keep a close watch on river conditions. Water levels are steadily increasing, and they predict ice breakup will be next week. So ice breakup, they're absolutely something to watch for as well. Thank you, Eris, for all the support, and anyone else who's watching. If you've got any questions, please drop them into the chat. If you're just joining us, I will be moving over to discuss the housing app that I posted last night, and we'll be moving on to wildfire next. The briefing that I referred to will be available for download on our Patreon today, and the recording of this will be up on YouTube and our homepage as well. Lots of changes in fire risk. Lots of changes the last little bit here if you've been following us and following this weekly with us. Good changes for Saskatchewan, because that southern part of Saskatchewan, just due to the forecasted weather, the fire danger did decrease a little bit, but I mean, it's spreading elsewhere, right? So even if we go back, let's take a look. This is what it looked like on Monday. So this was the fire danger on Monday. Like you can see it was pretty extreme down in southern Alberta, BC. But even though there's some precipitation and some snow, if you look at today, you can kind of see how things are still drying up. Things are still enhancing. Hot spots are reducing a little bit. There's that ebb and flow going back and forth. We look at the fire weather index, right? The fire weather index is a key metric because it basically is a component of the whole system. It's an indicator of intensity. And even the fine fuel moisture code. I mean, look at BC. Like BC is just drying up. If we go back to what it looked like at the beginning of the week, you can kind of see this is just Monday. So it's only been 3.5 days. We go to today, you can see how BC is just being consumed. And we're going to see quite a bit of this. It's going to taper off, but by what I say by May 1st, give it another solid week. Most of this is going to be, at least blue, right? We're going to be in that low fire danger for most of the country by May. And if the warmer weather continues with no precipitation by middle May, this is going to be a fairly yellow map with a lot of very high to extremes. So that gives nations, Indigenous communities another 2 to 3 weeks to really dig into their preparedness, to really dig into their planning, to really dig in to make sure that what they're doing to prepare for this year's wildfire season is moving forward. So at this time, you should be making sure that your evacuation plans are updated, making sure that you're have at least one community meeting. If you are an emergency management coordinator, if you are a council member, chief and council member, or responsible for emergency management in your community, hold at least 1 or 2 community meetings before May 15th to talk about evacuation routes, pre-planning. Get your people to start creating a grab and go bag checklist. Keep it on the fridge. Get them to think through right now. Yeah, Fort Mac was May 2nd. Get your members engaged. Make sure they have the public alerting app for your region. Make sure they know where to get trusted information like your Facebook page, your website. Make sure you have holding messages for crisis communications. You're late. Why? I don't know why, Ashley. But you can always get the full recording of this on our YouTube, Patreon, and YouTube with the briefing note here. And in a bit, I am going to go through the housing app post that I did yesterday. But get your community meeting, get people talking, evacuation routes, get your systems in place. If you're an emergency management coordinator, start talking to the other departments like finance, health, education on their role and what they're going to be doing. Have those meetings now. Oh, no, you don't need to evacuate. This is just preparedness and news. We're talking about the fire danger right now. You can see is creeping up across Canada. By about, May 10th, May 15th, this map is going to be, lit up blue, green, yellow, red, extreme fire danger. We're talking about if your community has to evacuate if you're an emergency coordinator, what you should be doing now over the next couple of weeks in terms of preparedness. So no, unless you're in a community that has an evacuation, like a Peguis or Fish River for flooding, then yeah, this is just a news and information brief to keep you up to date on the risks across Canada. If we look at fire startups in BC, we did have some more since yesterday. I'll move that down a little bit. So yeah, a couple down on the border there you can see in BC. April 22nd, 0.1 hectares being held. 9.8 hectares full response being held. We've still got at least that one up. Those ones in Prince George are under control. This one here, just east of Tweedsmuir Provincial Park, 70 hectares out of control. Probably don't know if there's any communities in that area, but already starting to see BC's fire activity crop up. And that makes sense given where they are right now with their fire danger. And given where they are with their fine fuel moisture, meaning all the moisture at the surface level of the forest and the land is very, very ready to ignite. I don't know why that did that. Okay. So let's go to my wildfire section. Parts of Canada emerged from winter under abnormally dry or drought conditions. Yes, we know that. Canada's heading into the season in uncharted territory, coming off 3 consecutive severe fire years. Last season was the second worst on record. Accelerating climate change is loading the dice for longer and more intense wildfire seasons. And if your community doesn't have any fire smart programs, hello from Central BC, you guys are drying up, eh? See how dry it is there? Yeah, oh, thanks for joining the Superfan Club, Canadian made. Fran D, thank you very much for joining our club. We're going to be here every day, 8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time for our briefing. If you missed the briefing, it's always recorded and on our YouTube, Patreon, and hazardscape.com homepage. When you go to our homepage, it's the first thing you see. If you want all of the links and resources that I'm showing you here, those are available too in 2 different spots. And as a super fan, you're going to get a link to our Patreon membership, and you can you'll be able to access all of these resources in one place on our Hazardscape app. So I'll make sure that you get that for joining our super fan club. So you'll get all the links here and access again, to our learning library that we're hosting with other tools if you want to try them out as we develop them. So what else do we got here? As always, if you have just a reminder for mental health, community quick resources for community members. We've got, if your nation needs emergency management funding through Indigenous Services Canada, they need to contact their regional ISC office. Mental health crisis line for First Nations and Inuit, the 1855 number. Weather alerts, weather.ca, Jordan's Principle. And here's kind of what we're watching today in terms of the news. Peguis and Fish River, Cuin, as always, Moose Cree. Still kind of tracking the BC fiasco with their Indigenous rights legislation, the RCMP surveillance inquiry, and again, wildfire season. Those are the top things that we're tracking through our briefs. And along with, we're going to add a Arctic Canada section to our briefs. So we're going to be pulling in more news and information from Nunavut community resources. And we're going to be pulling into our brief a little bit more detail on preparedness activities, especially as remote First Nations start to creep into the wildfire season, as you can see here. Oh, you had a carbon monoxide scare a few weeks ago, like the whole community or just your house? Oh, just your house. Do you have a carbon? Did you know because you have a carbon monoxide tester or monitor? Okay. Yeah. Good. That's awesome. Kudos to you for having that. Did it go off because of low batteries, or did you actually have carbon monoxide in the home that set it off? Because I know sometimes if the batteries are low or the sensor's going, it will go off. That happened to me once. The batteries were dying. Oh, they didn't provide any. So yeah, that's not good. At the very least, they ought to. Oh, thank you, Doug Daniels. Thanks for the joining the super fan. You'll get a membership to our Patreon after this live, and if you want access to our app, I'll get you the link for that, where you can get all of the resources I'm showing today with our learning library and the resource library, where all of the resources for all of our mapping is available, and you can check out for yourself and keep track. Yeah, it was the battery, so you were safe. Okay. Yeah, they should provide. So at the very least, right, if you have a carbon monoxide tester go off, then absolutely there should be some sort of support from the fire services there to come in, help you evacuate, get outside, clear the air, check your tester, bring you some spare batteries if you don't have them. That's that's part of reducing the risk in a community, is having those supports in place, right? There's got to be help there, and it's maybe, maybe people in the community, maybe the fire service doesn't know what to do in that instance, or just maybe there is nobody. Oh, you have no fire service workers. We have a fire truck, but no team. Yeah, well, you unfortunately are in the same situation as so many communities. And that's why we put in our app for leadership, if they want it, a on reserve fire assessment here that helps nations build up a on reserve fire service program through management, policy, governance, having the right equipment, public education, personnel and training, fire safety monitoring, and planning and response services. So if your nation needs help assessing its fire service protection service levels, then have them kind of reach out to us if they need help with that, because we're trying to make this accessible for First Nations to reduce their fire risk. And I am going to go into the housing app pretty soon if there's no other questions. That's kind of the briefing for the day on the flood, the wildfire, some of the news. If you did miss this again, you can catch the recorded version of this on our YouTube. YouTube, just Google Hazardscape homepage, hazardscape.com. You go to the homepage, you see the videos right there, and our Patreon if you are a member. And yeah, I'm gonna go into the application that I posted yesterday on TikTok about housing. So I want to give some more detail on that because it was amazing. I didn't think I would get that many questions on it, but I did. I got a lot of questions about this app and what does it actually mean and how does it work and why is this even a thing that's needed? And I'll give you a couple of examples. So I've been engaged with some First Nations peoples, an elder, let me move this all out of the way. I've been engaged with an elder. I'm engaged with a First Nation owned abatement company, Quebec. Okay, I'll do a quick flash of the weather, but then I'm going to go into this app. The weather in Quebec isn't too bad. You can see there's just one wind warning over in the Labrador area, but you don't have any severe weather warnings. So you guys are pretty good, but watch your local news. And so, yeah, I've been working with First Nations owned abatement organization and a elder out of a community that, is trying to kind of help develop some better systems for on reserve management and accountability. So what this app is for is, one, whether you're a homeowner, a renter, the band owns your house, just if you have a home, and this can be on reserve or off reserve, insurance or no insurance, when your home is damaged by a disaster, either a flood or a wildfire or a power outage or a cold snap or whatever, flood from freezing pipes, whatever it is, if you're on reserve and it's considered an emergency or disaster by Indigenous Services Canada, you can get immediate funding for repairs. And you can also get immediate funding if something like your bed or your drapes, some traditional items, hockey equipment were damaged. Anything essential, right? Laptops, food. Maybe you have a power outage and you lose your entire freezer of moose, or you lose your freezer and your fridge and they got to get tossed out. You can get funding through the government. And you can get funding to clean and restore your items. So this app helps you catalog your home's inventory of personal items. So when you go to ISK or you're through your nation, you know exactly what you've got in your house in terms of how many towels, how many blankets, how many laptops, like what do your kids have for an Xbox, even though that might not be eligible, but laptops are. Food, anything in your home that you need replaced under the Emergency Management Assistance Program, ISK needs that in writing. Your nation needs that in a formal report. And you always want to catalog that now, because I can tell you what happens is a lot of people get surprised. There's a wildfire. I worked with a community where 100 houses burned down. That was 800 people affected. They lost everything. It took them about 8 months to kind of go through the process of remembering everything that they lost. And that took a long time. And that takes, when you're going through that trauma, you don't want to be thinking during an evacuation and when you're looking at a burned down or a flooded house, what you've lost, because your memory is not going to be super great. So doing it now is an act of preparedness. And also, if you can also kind of catalog damages that you're tracking because your nation is to repair them, this helps you do that in at least an organized and documented way. Okay. So, you can choose like your basement, right? And you can add that, right? And you can go in and you can list, like in the living room, what's wrong with the living room. There's going to be a section on here that allows you to list how many couches you have, how many beds, what kind of TV do you have, what kind of fridge and stove do you have, all those things that would be eligible under the Emergency Management Assistance Program if you're eligible for funding, right? It takes you through every bedroom, every garage, whatever room you have. It allows you to catalog what kind of utilities you have. No, this is not just for on reserve. Any homeowner can use this. This is a good practice, even for Munya like me. This is a good practice, because if my house burns down and I have to go to my insurance, I still have to give them all this information. And I want to be able to do it super quick, because the faster I do it, the faster I get funded, right? And so then this generates a report, okay? And it's gonna be built so you have two options. Option one, a report that you can give to your housing manager or housing coordinator that just lists the damage and repairs needed. It will not include your personal items because that's private. It will also create another report that you would use to hand to your nation for your statement of loss and damage for the Emergency Management Assistance Program funding. So you will have two reports, one for the nation, one if you have to submit a claim through ISK for emergency funding. And again, I know on reserve, you could phone your housing manager and give them this information, but where do they enter it? How do they store it? How do they manage it? This is for forest fires only, or can I claim for house fire? So the Emergency Management Assistance Program with ISK, I do not think it typically covers individual home structural fires caused by it depends. It depends. Like If it's caused by like someone boiling oil and they cause a house fire, it depends on the house, and is it a CMHC house and all of this. Like some nations have insurance on homes. Like everyone knows, every community is different. That's why you've got to go to your nation and say, you've got to ask them about your house. Is my house insured through the nation? Because some can be. A lot are not, but some can be. You've got to ask, was it a CMHC home? Some are, some aren't. And if there's a CMHC home, some are required to have insurance. That's the other thing I was getting to. If on-reserve housing managers choose to ignore or mismanage the issue, it takes months. Yes, that is a total risk. The advantage here is at least when you give your housing manager this report, right, at least you've got a record of what you gave them and when. And if they are ignoring you, then, at least you're showing that you're doing your due diligence. If the nation isn't doing its due diligence, or, they're not getting enough funding, like at least you've got a record and some accountability, and you're giving them a very detailed report. So this is about homeowners. The app is not ready yet. It's going to still be a couple of weeks until we get it ready for a public use, because there's still some things that we have to put into it for consideration, some extra fields. But do you see at the bottom here? I, Brad, housing manager, certify that this information contained in this assessment report, to the best of my knowledge, has been received. Get your housing manager to sign off on this, and you take a copy. This is about empowering you to notate and inventory the things about your home, including, this is really important, if your furnace goes out, if your power goes out, if you can get your serial number, the make and model of your furnace, and have that on hand so you can relay that back to the engineer or the electrician or whoever comes to your home. If you're in a very remote community and those people live a little ways away, them having the make and the model and the serial number of your furnace is going to help them come to your house with the parts, right? So if you can, this is just my assumption. This is not gonna happen overnight, right? But if you got 80 homeowners, 100 homeowners in your reserve, sending this same report to your housing manager, it's kind of almost going to force your housing manager to adopt a little bit more of a better organized system. Like, I think from the grassroots, you could create that accountability and at least say to your housing manager, look, we're all in this together as homeowners, as a community. We want you to start referring to these reports and start using them. Maybe you could force some change that way. Maybe not. There's nepotism and there's all that dirty stuff. But I think, right now, I think what happens with a lot of housing managers, because I've seen this, not all of them, I've seen it. They get a phone call or an email, and that email is their record. And they just save it in an email folder. And how easy is that to search? It's not. Or maybe they'll take it and put it in a Word document or an Excel sheet, right? But that can be very difficult to sort through. Yes, this is the accountability piece. I mean, if you're really in a situation in your community where you could go to chief and council and say, look, here's what I provided. Like, this is the PDF report, right? This is what you can print off or save as a PDF and email it to your housing manager, to a coordinator, to chief and council, if you decide to go that route. Yes, you're still calling them up to follow up on the email. I know. But you know what? With this, at least too, you also have an inventory of all of your personal items. So if you do get evacuated and the power goes out, or your house does get damaged by a wildfire or a flood, you've also got an inventory of all of your personal items that could be eligible under the government's emergency management assistance program if you qualify. The other nice thing too here, right, is in that case, it can be really helpful to know what kind of heating system, what kind of house you have, if it's manufactured, is it stick built? Does it have a basement with a foundation? All of that information, the more quickly you can get it to government following a disaster, the faster your nation can get funding. And the faster your nation can even submit an estimate to get an advance. The government, we know, is slow. And you can't control your housing manager. You can't control ISK. What you can control is your documentation, your ability to be ready, your ability to do your due diligence, your ability to get the information in there as fast as possible. You can control that. And you at least, I think everyone, all of us have to take that responsibility in steps, especially as climate change comes up and we're dealing with more of these events. And you have to have the knowledge to even ask the right questions. So if you're evacuated from a wildfire and you get home and your house smells like smoke, chances are there's some contamination in there from ash, soot, or char. That has to be tested. And if the contamination is high enough, the nation is entitled to have professional restoration crews come in and clean. And that cleaning process in itself can take care of a lot of issues because they'll clean your furnace, they'll clean your HVAC system, they'll check all your electronics, they'll check your breaker, they'll check to make sure that that the contamination from the fire smoke, it can ruin electronics, right? So you'll at least get that out of it. And that's why I try to say to homeowners, I understand it may feel like you don't have a lot of control, but the control that you do have, use it to your full advantage. And that's what we're trying to build here with some experts, with a First Nations owned abatement company, with a gentleman I'm talking about from Alberta. He's an elder from a nation here. He's asked if this is possible. I said, yes, it's possible. We're making it. So we'll see what happens. And like, again, I'm going to make this as low cost as possible. Like, I think I need feedback from everyone on because it's free for me to tell you this is free for me to show you, and it's free for you to see, but it's not free to make. But it's also not very expensive if we do it the right way, if we do it together. I think that, like, for cost, something like, $29 to do to get into it and do your first report. Like, I think we could get it to like a one-time cost. But then if you wanted to, be able to update it, like, the maintenance fee should only be $3 or $4 a month. Or the other option is you can come in, fill it out one time, and then maybe you don't pay any maintenance fee, but then maybe when you do want to come in and update it, that's when you pay like $3 or $4 to get it again and make those changes. I don't know. We'll see how this goes. Like, it's not free to make these things. It's not free to host, but it's definitely not expensive. And it's not as expensive as if like some entity came out and developed it and their main purpose was to make money. The main purpose here is to make it sustainable. Okay. And I think it's sustainable if enough people use it to create that system of accountability within their community and take that responsibility and empowerment and ownership to make sure that if their house is damaged or their personal items are damaged or their food, or they lose all of their moose in a freezer, they take those steps to record it and inventory it. So if funding is eligible or available, you can send this report super quick and your application is in. That's what it's about. So if you have any questions about that, let me know. And if you missed the briefing on the weather, wildfire, flood situation in the country, this has been recorded. It'll be on our YouTube. It'll be on our hazardscape.com with this full briefing that you can access from our Patreon, as all of our daily briefings are recorded and accessible. And as we watch the fire danger for the country kind of creep up across us, we can see where fire danger stats are starting to, increase, especially BC is the highest risk right now with kind of where all that blue is and that green and yellow. And even those little tiny bits of red near kind of in the Kamloops area. And that's all predicated on the current drought conditions. You can see, right? This was the drought monitor from March 31st. So the signals are there. The signals are occurring that it's going to be not a great wildfire season. That should be telling us to get prepared now, especially if you're in a small, remote First Nation, Inuit community. It's wildfires up in Nunavut. It's rare, but it's trending in the decades to come. Yukon and Northwest Territories are seeing more fire. If we go back, we could go back in time to like 2025. Let's go back. What did it look like this day in April 2025? Ooh, look at that. It was worse a year ago, but we're having a late spring, right? What did it look like at the end of 2025? I think the end of this year is going to be slightly, well, let's go into June, mid-June. That's what Canada looked like middle of June last year, right? That's what we're going to look like, or worse, in a few weeks to a month or 6 weeks. That was in June. What did it look like sometimes late May can be even worse. No, let's look at like July, middle of July. Look at Nunavut. See? This is the fire danger. It was very extreme in Nunavut, right? Like whoever would have thought that, other than maybe the elders or the people there, like, right? It's just incredible. And let's go to the end of August last year. What did it look like in Canada? Holy, right? That's 2025 is forecasted to maybe be a little bit worse than that. And where we are today in comparison on the I want to go to April 23rd. Here's where we are today. So the signals are out there. It's going to get bad. We're going to see a lot of wildfires. We're going to see wildfire smoke. It's time to prepare. And it doesn't take much. Grab and go checklist. If you had to evacuate, what would you take? Just make the checklist now. Put it on your fridge. So when the time comes to make that grab and go bag, you have a list of things that you're going to take so you're not having to think about it in the moment. What's your evacuation route? Where are you going to go if you're at a high risk of evacuation this summer? Ask your nation. Where are they going to set up welcome centers? Where are they going to set up registration? What hotels or lodging do they have planned? Where might they send you if you have to evacuate? Start asking them those questions, because then it forces them to think about it and give you that information so you're better prepared. Or maybe you make your own decision, right? If you've got the means to do that, and you're thinking, wow, look, last year, 2025, in July, this is what the fire danger was in Canada. Right, if you're in one of those hot spots and you're in a small community that's high risk of fire, where are you going to evacuate to? Or are you going to rely on your nation to set that all up, right? If you've got the means, you could talk to friends or family that are way out of the area. Maybe you just say, okay, you tell everyone in your family, we're going to go to our cousins in this nation, or we're going to go to our friends in this town. And the nation can still evacuate and set up hotels and group lodging, but at least you've taken a few steps to get somewhere safe and comfortable, because we know First Nations that evacuate to hotels, community centers, and other towns, it's not enjoyable for them, right? There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of, there's not a lot of understanding about cultural needs. So if you can get some information from your nation to be yourself a little bit more prepared, that's the goal. Control what you can control. Then if your nation sets up a hotel room for you and you want to go there, you can do that. But based on the signals that we're seeing, not just for this year, not just for 2026, but right through to 2030, it's going to be very warm, dry next 4 years. And so this has got to become part of your daily routine, your daily life, living in this kind of uncertainty, expecting it to get really hot, your community to fill with smoke. Yes, you do need a controlled sensor network for Indigenous communities. 100%. And it's doable and it's not expensive. I would love to see a community set up a sensor mesh and a low range frequency mesh in their community to detect weather. What's PSSPC? You build those controlled networks? Who Tech or Catlow Tech? Is that the name of the company? PASPC, Prince Albert. Where's that one, Panda? Okay, Catlow Tech. I gotta check you out. Do you have a website? If I Google you right now. Oh yeah, Catlow Tech Communications. Oh, wait a minute. Are you guys doing the data center in the Arctic, like those portable data centers? Oh, I reached out to someone there a little while ago about that, or not about that, but about the defense industry funding. But I didn't hear back. Prairie and Arctic Storm Prediction Center? What is that one? Thank you for that. So that's a Prairie and Arctic Storm Prediction Center. That's a government department. Well, if you've completed those applications already and you're looking for people to sell it and implement it, I got to check out. So is it a web page for the Prairie? Like, what is their monitoring? Do you have because when I Google it, I get the department within the federal government, but I don't know like where are they displaying data somewhere? Oh, that's it. Okay, Prairie W. Okay, I did see that one. So this is giving a list. Oh, so it's kind of like there is a weather map. Oh my gosh, look at that, eh? That looks like a plate of spaghetti with some beans on top. Okay, thank you for bringing this to my awareness. I'm going to add their data set into our dashboard on our app, and so we can pull some data from there. That is quite the display. Oh, this okay. I've seen these ones before because I posted one last night, but I didn't know that it was on this website. But I have not seen this map. So this is pulling like data. Right, I'll check this out. Thank you for that. Yeah, the Outlook tab. Yeah. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Ooh, look at all the good stuff. Yeah, I think like the other maps, like, this one I use a lot at Windy. I think they pull a lot of data from the very similar place, like Natural Resources Canada. I think that's kind of the thing I'm noticing right now is everyone's building their kind of own data display, and it's still all coming from the same source, but everyone's kind of building their own display and dashboards and way to show and tell the data, right? Like even Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Center is pulling from all the provincial and federal sources. So that's good, but I kind of like that this is coming from a dedicated predictions center. So I'm going to explore that a little bit more and see what oh yeah, there's some. So you can go by region and they give you these kind of updates, these low data intense quick updates. Thank you. Yeah, it's nice, right? Because you're getting a lot of just really simple, basic, and it's good for remote communities because then it doesn't take a lot of data to propagate. Like you're not pulling up all these fancy graphics, and it's not too bandwidth intense. That one's a little it's hilarious. But you can zoom in, you can see the wind there. You can see I would assume those the red blocks, those are the weather warnings. So that's the same weather warnings we're pulling from Environment Canada. You can see the high and low pressure. It's just a very simple view. Yeah, so if you look where, like I pull those ones up on ArcGIS from Environment Canada. So it would be the same as this. It's the same data. None of it, in terms of weather warnings, none of it is good today. So no crazy weather warnings for none of it. But the risk that I think we'll see in your neck of the woods will be later in the summer, because if we look at historical data like last year, I was showing, look at the fire danger last year for none of it. Like, it was low, but by the time I think you got into kind of more the later end of your season into August, like that was your fire danger in some parts. So very interesting to see the northern circumpolar Arctic of Canada really starting to see those higher fire weather indexes. On this one, I can't zoom in. I could zoom in on, I can't zoom in on this one because it's a static map. Let's try that other. If you're looking for like the current, let's go to, I don't know if I've got you cataloged. I think I do. I should look at my list. ABCJKLMNOP. I'm sure I've got you guys. There we are. Did it flash for me? I picked it. Where are you? I can't see the little thing flashing. No, I want. It did it. Did it? I missed it. It's having me go down the list. I gotta fix this. Where did it go? Where the heck are you? Oh, in Eureka. Maybe it goes to the bottom. Oh, good gravy. You can't mark it for. I know. Hang on a second. Just let me. I'm gonna do it this way. There you are. Needs to build in a search function in the map. Yeah. So, I mean, right now, no special weather alerts. If that's your area, if we look at the map last year, I mean, I can zoom in my screen actually. Like, I can make this a little bigger. Like, you were abnormally dry last year. So I think you'll be abnormally dry again this year. And that's, I don't know the topography or the vegetation in your area, but, looking around, what could ignite, if anything. But still, dry is not good. And then that's just permafrost issues, right? Like, we can look at, I think I've got the permafrost. Let me take the weather off of here. I can pull up the permafrost map. So permafrost is melting, we know. Like, this is what it looks like currently based on the data. Always dry. And if you're just tuning into this briefing, it's being recorded. It'll be on our Patreon or a YouTube channel, usually a couple of hours after I end the live. And you can get the briefing note for the live here. And I did go over the housing application in detail. If anyone's logging on who saw the post last night about the housing app, that was recorded and it will be available for your viewing pleasure as well, just as an added note. But yeah, we were looking at fire danger. That was last year. Don't get it confused with this year. Let me go back to current conditions in April. Fire danger is definitely high in BC, and it's starting to spread across the country, and it's going to get a little bit. It's going to get worse, obviously. That's why I was showing that. Let's look at 2023. 2023 was a really bad fire year. So if we look at like mid-June on 2023, I think it was it worse in some areas in May? If we look at May 15th, holy, look at that. That was May 15th in 2023. Like, look at Alberta, Saskatchewan back then. Let's see 2024. Okay, 2024 is not as bad. 2025, May 15th, 2025. Okay, not as bad as 2023, but worse than 2024. So given the last 3 years, what is 2026 going to look like on May 15th? I would say if you're in Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC, it's going to be similar to worse than this. That's what the experts say. Don't quote me on it. I just give you the tools, and you can go and keep up to date too, and do these briefings so you have access. And if you want access to all of these tools, you can go to our app and access the resource library. because Munyao can't do everything by himself. So I'm trying to get as many First Nations, Inuit, or Métis that want to be involved in the design of this. So the data for this one already meets OCAP policies. Yes, thank you, Michelle. Your support. Hi, Masi Cho. And yeah, it's just about getting the word out. And even with the technology, we were talking earlier about the remote sensors. You know, remote communities can have text messaging sensor capability without power, without Wi-Fi, without cell service, without internet. It's very possible. That's what we're wrapping into our framework for enhancing disaster and emergency management. Along with, I'll show you this too. Actually, I haven't shown it on here yet, but we're teaming up with another organization. I think this is, you can make money from this too if you want, if you're into it. Don't go to my webpage. Go back to, so this company out of Edmonton has developed it's like Uber, but for shipping packages and goods. So you can sign up to be a driver, and if somebody needs a package, like I'm in Edmonton, so if someone needs a package in Saskatoon and they want it quickly, they can go on here and I can drive it to Saskatoon and get paid. So what I really like about this for remote communities is if you're in a remote community and you need something from Edmonton and you don't want to do the drive yourself or whatever, you could request that on here and someone will deliver it to you. And the cost is based on, you know, what that shipper wants. It could be a little expensive if it's just for one thing. But if you were like, let's say you're a First Nation and you needed, you know, 7 pallets of water, you could go on here and find a company that could ship it, get it really quickly, maybe faster than you having to find someone to do it. And then you can track their movements in the app, and just like Uber, if you're familiar with Uber. But it's really cool. So we're working with them to make this more friendly for remote communities, for First Nations that might need things quick. I don't know if it'll work, but they've got like people with pickup trucks, cars, larger moving trucks, right? It's kind of neat. And if you want to sign up, you can become a shipper, go through the application process, and then if anyone in your community needs something, like you could maybe just get a bunch of people and say, look, let's do it, and you know, they can pay through this. Maybe that will never happen, I don't know, but I think it's really cool. It kind of goes along with that low tech sustainable community idea of doing it on your own and setting up those systems in place. So your community, if you lose power, if you lose Wi-Fi, if you lose internet, cell service, you can still text message each other through a low range mesh network. Not like videos and pictures and things like that, but enough communication that you could get some simple messages to and from people if you lost power, internet, cell service for days, you know, to weeks or whatever the case may be. Super inexpensive stuff to do. Yeah, LoRa, yeah. Or APRS, which if you want to go the API, you guys do APRS solutions as well. Maybe if you want something a little bit more powerful, but a little bit more expensive to implement. But either way, it's just all about getting that system set up. And, you know, especially those sensors, like you could even put like a little LoRa sensor under your dishwasher to measure water. Oh, thank you. Thank you for joining our super fan club. That Conrad guy, you will get a Patreon membership. And if you want to check out our app, you'll get a link for that. And you can check out our Patreon where you can access all of our training. You can access this briefing that we gave today. You'll get all of the training and emergency management stuff that we put on our Patreon, and access to all of our private live streams there and stuff like that. And you'll get this app link if you want to check it out as well. So appreciate that. and any of the other stuff that we give away on there. So let me go back. Yeah. So yeah, fire danger. This is where we're at. Oh, your counselor curious of this year's preparedness. Yeah, if you want to access the briefings and all of that, you can get them. Depending on where you are, we're adding in an Arctic Canada circumpolar north. But if you want more specific information and access, you can. I'll put our email in the chat. You can also send an email there. But it's recorded. It'll be up on our YouTube. As soon as I log off here and can download it and upload it to YouTube, it'll be on our Patreon and it will be on our homepage. The whole recording, the last hour and a half, with our briefing note. You have that section under your commercial section, forest fire system, section system. So like for monitoring forest fires, like through sensors. Okay. I'll check it out. Yeah, because there's some European companies that are trying to move into Canada quite quickly. And they asked me to promote them to some First Nations, but I said no. One, because, well, they're not Indigenous owned and they're not Canadian. And two, they were just looking to like siphon off my network to get leads. And that's not how we roll. When we partner with an organization, more about the mesh sensors. So mesh sensor is essentially, there's a couple different ways you can do it, but the one I like, it's called LoRa, L-O-R-A. It stands for low range. And if you go on your phone right now, you can download an app called Meshtastic. I'll put Meshtastic in the chat, Meshtastic. It's a free app. That is your texting interface, right? So on your phone, you've got Meshtastic. If you buy a LoRa chip, which they're very inexpensive. Like if you have a 3D printer, like I have a 3D printer at home, so I buy the chip and the antenna, it's like $20. And with the battery, it might be 30. I 3D print my own little case. It's like literally that big. And you Bluetooth it into your phone. And you text message on your phone. The Bluetooth goes to the little chip, the node, and that node pushes the radio signal out to the next node and the next node. So it's kind of like hopping along. So the key is if you're in a community and you don't have a lot of those nodes, like you're not going to go anywhere. But if you have a community where there's like 20 of those nodes set up, either in someone's home or on a flagpole or whatever, that message will hop through each one until it gets to the sender, and it's encrypted. Yes, you can purchase fully made equipment, like 120, 130 bucks if you want to spend the money on, like, if you know what the old Blackberries used to look like with the keyboards. Like you can get a fully out of the box mesh system if you want to spend the money. I personally wouldn't do that unless I knew there was a large mesh network in my community, because otherwise your message isn't going to go anywhere. But if you were really keen, like if a community was really keen, like here's the mesh map, right? So if we zoom into Canada, right, there's not a ton of public ones. These are public. There could be a lot of private people, right? So we look in Red Deer, there's 2 public mesh sort of, these could be like, this is a Wi-Fi home. This could be like an individual's home. They may have set up like a repeater type system. But if you ordered like 20 nodes, Montreal Lake, yeah, there's not a lot. Where is Montreal? Is Montreal Lake in Quebec? I forget where it is. But if you spent like $300 and got 30 nodes, nearest town, Prince Albert. Okay. So, oh yeah, there's a client base. So what this, I'll bring it down so you can see it. So what this is saying, there's a client base, there's a Heltec V3. So Heltec is the company that makes the node. It's a V3. So there is one there. And it pinged 12 minutes ago in this neighborhood. So if you lived in this neighborhood, Actually, man from Montreal means Munyao. Really? That's hilarious. I didn't know that. So if you lived in this neighborhood and you got your own LoRa node, you could communicate with this person without needing internet, Wi-Fi, or power or cell service. And if you're in a small remote community, again, like I said, you could order 10 nodes, give them to your family, and you could set up your own little mini network. Montreal, okay. So it's growing. Look at Europe. Like if you go to Europe, like they're on the ball, right? Like they've got mesh node networks setting up everywhere, right? Like it's crazy how they're so far ahead. Canada is going to catch up, but we're pretty sparse right now. Munyao. Oh, okay. Munyao. Oh, really? That's hilarious. Montreal is Munyao. Montreal. That's what you used to call like the white invaders. Munyao. Montreal. So Montreal means Munyao, like the city too. Thank you for that. But yeah, you could go man from Montreal. Okay. Well, I am Munyao. I'm not from Montreal, but I am not the city. I'm European descendant. But yeah, you could go get it. Like I could show you a Heltec. I'll show you what one of these look like. They're pretty rudimentary. Like there's one right there. You can order for $30. Comes with that little chip and that antenna, right? It's no bigger. It's like, hello, none of it. It's like that big. You just 3D print a little box if you've got a 3D printer. It's got a USB-C. You add a battery to the back and it works off your phone off Bluetooth. Or you can buy kind of like these ready-made ones that look like this is the high end. I think if you're looking in Canada, Spectre 5 sells them. This is a T-Deck. This would be about $150. It's completely ready to go. Probably got Wi-Fi. Yeah, you're welcome. Wapagoo? Is that Cree, Tansei? You can get this this one. Looks like a BlackBerry. But I wouldn't spend it's by LilyGo. This is $122. Like that is still pretty good. Like that is still not expensive for a unit like that. But again, if your community doesn't have a mesh node network set up, honestly, if you were a hobbyist and you were good with this stuff, like you can put these on a small 5-watt solar panel. So you could take like this, put it in a weatherproof box, put it up with a small solar panel and keep it charged, and it would just be like a repeater node. So if you were really, really into this stuff and you're in a small community and you researched it, very inexpensive little mesh node network. And you could, depending on the topography, right? You got to think about like how much trees are in the way and is there hills and what's the topography like. But it just takes a little bit of effort and mapping and a little bit of work, but you could do it. I'm going to sit on this one. That's the fire risk map. You could do it. That's it. Okay. I'm going to, unless I get any more questions or things to, that you have questions about, I'm going to log off, get this downloaded, get it uploaded to YouTube, our homepage, get the briefing note on our Patreon. Canadian made Fran D, Douglas Daniels, and the Conrad Guy Entertainment. I will get you your super fan gifts and reach out. But I will be back tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time with more Indigenous situational awareness information news you can use. Again, check out the recording on our YouTube, hazardscape.com, and our Patreon. I will see you all tomorrow. Masicho. See you tomorrow. Stay safe. Stay prepared.